Okay, so the technique that I'm going to demonstrate here is called sgraffito, and sgraffito basically just means scratching. It's an Italian word for when we scratch through. So what we've got here is underneath there's a layer of colour, so the blue and the pinks and the purples, and what we do is we cover it with a layer of dark, and then we scratch through that, and you can see how the colour underneath will come through. So that's the sgraffito technique. It's fairly straightforward, very easy, and it can be very effective. To do this, you can use crayons, which are fine, or we can use oil pastels, and I'm going to be using oil pastels today, but the crayons work just fine as well. So the first thing that we need to do is create a layer of colour. So you can see I've started over here already with the oranges and the reds, and I'm just going to finish colouring in these gaps. Now when you're using the oil pastels, if they get into your clothes, it's not very good, so try and wear an apron, and you don't want to get little bits on the floor either. Make sure you wipe it all up, and if we get any of these sticky up bits, we can just keep sort of going over with the pastel. Don't worry if the colours mix together. And what we want is we don't want any white spaces really left. So you can go over it again, and you can go in a different direction, and you can even blend it with your fingers to try and get rid of some of those white spaces that are poking through of the paper below. So once you've filled your page with colour, and it doesn't have to be diagonal stripes, it could be horizontal stripes, recommend to maybe only have 3 or 4 different colours, no more than that, because we're going to be covering it up, so to keep it simple it's going to work best. And do make sure that it goes all the way to the edge of your paper. And then what you need is a black crayon or black oil pastel, and what you're going to do, so I've got a little bit here, is you're just going to cover over all of the coloured sheet with the oil pastel. And again, you can go in 2 directions. But we don't want to work it too much, we don't want to mix in the colours underneath. What we're trying to do here is just create a layer of black all the way over the top. So you can go over it a few times. Nice thick layer. You can do a little bit more slowly than I'm doing it in this demonstration. Once it's all covered, then we are ready to get scratching. Okay, so cover it all nice and thick. You want to see very little of those colours coming through from underneath. So you might want to put an extra layer on, but I'm going to pause there so that I can show you the next stage. So the next stage is when we start doing the decorating bit, which is the scratching. And you can just use a toothpick for this, or you can use any other kind of scratchy tool that you find, but a toothpick works fine. In this case, we're going to use our tessellating tiles. So you can lay your pattern down in the middle. And we're going to create our scratching pattern. So I'm just going around the outside, and what this is doing is it's going to be scratching away that top layer of black. So we lift it off, and there we go, we can see. So I can then carry on with my tessellating tile, and I can start adding some details in the middle. So that is the sgraffito technique.